We've done a lot of very quick, I hate the term pivoting, but
Mhm.
we have.
Yeah.
We've figured out very quickly what we need to do. What do you feel are some of the things that you've done or we've done in this time that have been positive?
Great question. You know what I think we've done? I think we shedded off every traditional, this is the way we've done it before, this is the way we should do it before. We literally just shed that skin and went, okay, fuck it. We don't know. Let's start trying. And really, I think came in. I think the reason it was so easy back to it was so easy for us to pivot and wasn't that it was easy for us to pivot, but I think we pivoted extremely well at the right time. And we did it because of the willingness to let go of the way we used to do things in order to experiment on the way we should be doing things. In fact, we still are experimenting, even with the way we're producing content. This conversation right now started on an experiment, which is, hey, how about me and you get in front of the mics? We'll talk a little bit. We'll see what we can create, what advice comes out, if there's a nugget. And I think it's through this experimentation, we start to get the answers. So, um, that wasn't strategic, by the way. There was no sort of sit down, let's talk about what it is. It was pure guts and glory and just, this is what I feel is the right way to do
Well, and action, right? Like to your point, we took action, and it's through doing the action that we figured it out. And we took some wrong steps. We ended up putting a few things out to clients and we're like, oh, holy, okay, that didn't land how we meant it to. And we retracted it. But the only reason we got that feedback is because we put it out.
it. Yeah.
I've still been talking to other companies who are in a business development standpoint, and they have no idea how to go back into the market and what they're going to offer, right? And it's like, well, then have those conversations. And I think we've just tried things and figured it out, and then we've had a lot of conversations.
I think that's the secret to living in this new world, which is the ability just to experiment and try things. I think we've come from such a sort of predicted or precise world where even the way we would hire people, you would hire someone to do a specific job because they had a specific background or experience. Now I think we're moving into this world of, I think we're going to be looking for creativity and flexibility and people willing to experiment. So back to these individuals going into the world, they've got an experience and a knowledge which will lend itself well, but how they sort of, you know, let go of that, how they tend to open themselves up to maybe new things is what's going to allow that experience and knowledge to actually shine in the future. Right?
I agree. And it takes guts. You need to
Takes
have guts right now.
On that note, Jadine, you just said it. You hear a lot around sort of resilience and sort of certainty or drive or entrepreneurship, but you just nailed the word, which is people need to have guts.
Hmm.
And to me, what guts means is the willingness to take the risk, the willingness to stand up to the bully, the willingness to sort of jump in with both feet, the willingness to make the mistake, the willingness to take it on. I mean, we did this where we took on this new sort of technical platform, and it was my intention to learn it all, which I did,
Hmm.
and went, yes, I can do it, but it's going to take me 2 years to get up and running to the expertise that we need in order to execute on this platform right now. And there was this willingness to sort of, I think, be humble enough. And I turned it back to you as a group. I said, look, considering the financial times, like, are you okay if we went and brought in an expert to come and do this, even though technically we shouldn't be spending right now, but it's something we should be investing in. So, on that note, sort of this conversation started with what you should do to be taking advantage during self-isolation, really making the right investments. That might be spending some money, that might be emotionally spending, that might be sort of physically spending, but,
Yeah.
spending that currency in order.
And I also think keeping your lens on the immediate, because most people need to figure out what to do in the immediate, but also the long term, right? And for us as a group, that was an important perspective for us to have, because in the immediate, it was going to be a cost, but we have the belief that we will still be here for the long term. So let's have the dual lens of now and long term. And I think when you can have that belief, it helps you to have the guts to actually make some of those decisions that might be scary, but without making them, you're gonna, you'll be stagnant.
You know what? That's I think maybe one of the third nuggets that came out of this, which is what could people be doing during this time is making the decisions,
Hmm.
right? Like I think in some of the people are waiting at home. They're also waiting to make that decision. It's always like, let's see. And yes, we want to be financially responsible. Maybe you don't want to make the decision on the new landscape project or, that new car purchase or whatnot. But, you want to make the decision on, here's a good one. What's happening with your kids in September?
Hmm.
Right? I mean, my wife and I actually just had a call about, what's going to happen with their education. We're already interviewing like private teachers and tutors because we don't want to wake up in September and say, oh, there is school or no school. Let's say there is school, but there's a whole sort of pressure of the second wave coming in and you don't want to send your kids to school. Well, then what? Or let's say there is no school in September and you're like, well, what are we going to do? So again, making those calls, those decisions now, not that we've actually booked this tutor, but we've made the decision to start
Yeah.
interviewing
So
and potentially going down the homeschool road.
yeah, exactly. So you're actually doing the research because in a period of uncertainty, we are going to have more calmness and containment and power when we actually are creating our own reality. With all the uncertainties, what is the certainty that we can work to put into place?
People need to define their certainty. People need to create their outcome by, I think, in some regards, creating their environment.
There's a post on LinkedIn right now that talks about for all of you people, it's a glass of wine. It says for all of you people who are debating how much you should or shouldn't drink, the opportunist just drank the wine.
That's fantastic.
And
That
it's
is fantastic. It's
and the
true.
woman who posted it, she's like, oh, because I said, I love this. And she's like, what do you love about it? The fact that the wine was drank or not? And I said, actually that, because we discuss what you should and shouldn't do and everybody has an opinion. Meanwhile, the people who are actually taking action are the ones who are getting ahead.
1,000%, 1,000%. Yeah, look, it comes across our world a lot. I think we get to see two very polar opposite types of behaviors happening: complete avoidance and isolation and sort of head in the sand, and then extreme aggressive, take action, keep pushing through. Um, and I agree with you. I think it is the risk takers and the ones that keep pushing and driving and moving. And, look, Gary Vee talked a lot about this, which was, people are so busy waiting to do the perfect thing that they don't actually end up creating the content to begin with, right? Or they're waiting to edit it or get all these things in place. And, again, to what we're talking about, just do it. Nike said it best.
And I can relate. I'm pretty high adult and can be withdrawn, right? So I relate to, plus I work with you and you have some high standards, which are good. So I can relate
Not
to
high
that.
standards, just I'm a high performance coach, just like you.
So, but I can relate to that feeling of, but I need it to be great, right? I don't want to misstep.
Yeah.
And so, but we need to think about stuff enough, but then we do just need to do it or the opportunity will be gone.
Look, shedding old habits. You know me. I am like super uptight with things being done in a certain way, and even with things like the way we're doing things now. I find myself having to emotionally adjust my expectations.
Well, the good thing about you, thank God, is that even though you're critical, you're also a risk taker. So that part balances it out.
Someone has to jump first, right? I'll
Yeah.
test out the depth.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of respect goes to leaders who go first. It
Yeah.
was the people who decided first that they were going to shut down and gave like real permission to their people to stay home. Those people were seen as courageous and they got the respect. It was the people who lagged behind and kept waiting that faced the most blowback on how they handled things. So now that we're in week 8, it's like, how are you going to go forward?
It's to what we spoke about. It's the early adopters versus the lanyards, the ones that decided to wait, the businesses that only did it because there was no other choice to do it. And I think it's the same while we're sitting at home right now. You can sit at home and wait until you got no choice but to do something, No choice to rewrite your LinkedIn. No choice but to redo your resume. No choice but to do the online course. No choice but to go out and do that thing. Or you could do it as an early adopter and say, I don't know where this course is going to lead me, or what me redoing LinkedIn is, or what me updating my resume is going to be. But let me do all these things. And that's if you're, let's say, laid off or out of work. If you are working right now, and it's a question of like, okay, here's a good one. There's a big expectation to be on meetings from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right?
Mm, yeah.
I'm guilty of that as well. But I often say to people like, hey, why don't you just, set some limits to when you can and can't be on these meetings
And follow them.
and follow
Because
them.
this is the trick, is people will say that and they'll have the best intentions, but they won't follow it.
For example, we do this check-in and check-out every single day, right? And it's quite often that someone will be like, you know what, guys, I'm overloaded. I'm either busy, I'm focused on something, I'm out.
Hmm.
And it's cool. It's totally cool, right? But
Yeah.
that required the individual, you, the team member, to say, hey, by the way, I know there's this expectation for us to be socially connected, but is it okay if I shrug off early or don't log on to this meeting or whatnot? Because starting to set some healthy expectations around meetings.
So I completely agree. And in terms of setting healthy boundaries and some patterns, like developing patterns, the other part is taking care of yourself physically.
Yeah.
Right? So now is an opportunity to set some patterns that can help carry through with momentum whenever we figure out whatever this new normal is. So so for me, and the advice I've given to people is, when they're on Zoom meetings all day, is if it's a one-on-one call, just to take it as an old school phone call.
Yeah.
I was saying to somebody today, I'm like, he said, do you want me to send you a video link? I'm like, no, I miss phone calls. And then when you take that phone call, go for a walk. Like, shut your computer, go for a walk, and so that you can actually physically get some exercise.
I shut my social down on the weekend, actually,
Yeah.
surprisingly. That's why you didn't see me post anything for Mother's Day or anything, just because like
Yeah.
Friday, like for me, socials work. Like the reason we post on
Forgot.
social is it's everything to do with my professional life. And, that's my switch off, which
Yeah.
is I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it,
Yeah. And it goes
um,
to your theme of, we need to know things about ourselves, and then we need to actively manage it. If you're asked to be on meetings from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you can't get stuff done, what can you do to manage it? Right.
yeah.
And you're also saying, I toggle off on my social media, because that helps you have time to renew. CEO from LinkedIn was saying one of the biggest schedule hacks he does is he always makes sure he has time in between meetings. Always. And he won't allow people to book in those periods of time.
It's funny that you said that, because this is the week for last week was this what was this for me, and this week it's for you as well, where we are back to back. You're every hour, and the person that scheduled all the sessions, thank God they did what they did was they left 30-minute windows between the sessions, and it makes a massive difference. And that was a big eye opener to me, because I've always been a dude that says, yeah, just book me each hour to the hour. I'll log off, 59 minutes, log back in on minute one, and you don't stop. And it's very unhealthy. Well, not unhealthy, but like it's taxing. So,
Yeah. And we need to be intelligent about our capacity,
right.
right? Like our capacity ebbs and flows depending on what's happening. And so we need to be intelligent about that, and also deliberate about it as much as we can, because stuff always comes up that we don't have control over. So let's work to control what we can.
Hey, I'm Greg Witz. Thanks so much for coming and checking out the video. If you like that video, you're going to love the next one. So I'd highly suggest that you click this video over here. And don't forget to subscribe and share.